Hi, I'm Elaine Winters, 55 years old, two grown children, and owner of a successful event planning company that caters to the elite of Boston. My daughter Madeline's wedding was going to be the crowning achievement of my career and my life. After 20 years of building my business from nothing after my divorce from Richard, I'd finally created the stability and success I'd always dreamed of. Mom, did Dad RSVP yet? Madeline asked, scrolling through her phone as we finalized seating arrangements in my downtown office. The spring sunlight streamed through the windows, highlighting the worry lines on my daughter's otherwise perfect face. Not yet, sweetie. But you know your father, always waiting until the last minute, I replied, keeping my voice carefully neutral. Richard had always been a touchy subject between us. It's 3 weeks away. Everyone else has responded. Madeline sighed, putting down her phone. I know you two have your issues, but he is still my father. Of course he is. And he wouldn't miss your wedding for the world, I assured her, though privately I wondered. Richard had been increasingly distant over the past year, even from our children. My assistant Jen popped her head in. Elaine, Gregory Hartwell is online too. Says it's urgent. I frowned. Greg was my accountant and never called unless something was wrong. I need to take this. Wedding emergency, I told Madeline with a reassuring smile. Miss Winters, Greg's voice was tight when I picked up. We need to talk. There's something off with your ex-husband's finances. What does that have to do with me? We've been divorced for 20 years. Remember that investment account he convinced you to co-sign before the divorce? The one he said was for the kids' college? My stomach dropped. Yes. Well, I was reviewing some paperwork and found something concerning. Can you come to my office today? 4 hours later, I sat across from Greg in his sterile downtown office, staring at bank statements that made my blood run cold. He's been systematically draining the account for years, Greg explained, his fingers tracing the transaction history. Over $8 million. Gone. But that's impossible, I whispered. That account was legally protected in the divorce settlement. It was meant for the kids. There's more. Greg hesitated. I did some digging. Your ex-husband has been acquiring property in the Maldives through a shell corporation. Private islands worth approximately $75 million. How is that possible? Richard told everyone his tech company was struggling. My voice rose with each word. Greg leaned forward. Elaine, according to my sources, he's planning to announce his early retirement to a private island compound at Madeline's wedding. He's been planning this for years, selling off company assets, hiding money offshore. The company pension fund is nearly depleted. The employees, their retirement savings? I couldn't finish the sentence. Gone, Greg confirmed. And because you co-signed that original investment account, there could be legal implications for you if this isn't handled properly. I gripped the edge of his desk. My daughter's wedding is in 3 weeks. Richard is walking her down the aisle. You need to talk to Caroline, Greg advised, mentioning my oldest friend who happened to be a criminal attorney. This isn't just about you anymore. Hundreds of employees will lose everything. As I walked out of Greg's office, my phone buzzed with a text from Madeline. Great news! Dad finally RSVP'd. He's bringing his assistant Veronica as his +1. Isn't that nice? Veronica, the 29-year-old who'd been just his assistant for the past 2 years. The final piece clicked into place, and something hardened inside me. I dialed Caroline's number. Caro, it's Elaine. I need your help. It's about Richard. Caroline's corner office overlooked the harbor, but I barely noticed the view as I paced back and forth, explaining everything Greg had told me. So let me get this straight, Caroline said, her reading glasses perched on her nose as she took notes. Richard drained the protected account meant for your children, embezzled from his own company, and is planning to announce his retirement to a private island paradise at your daughter's wedding? Yes, and I need to stop him before he hurts anyone else, I replied, finally sitting down. Caroline removed her glasses. Elaine, we've been friends for 30 years. I've never seen you like this. He's stealing from our children, Caro, from people who trusted him with their futures, all while playing the struggling business owner. We need more evidence, Caroline said pragmatically. Bank records, company documents, anything that shows a pattern. I don't have access to any of that, but I bet someone at his company does, Caroline suggested, raising an eyebrow. That's how I found myself having coffee with Marcus Dawson the next day. Marcus had been Richard's CFO for 15 years, and I'd always liked him at company parties. Mrs. Winters, Elaine, I don't feel comfortable discussing company matters, Marcus said nervously, glancing around the quiet cafe. Marcus, we've known each other for years, and I think you know why I'm asking. His eyes darted to mine, then away. The company is fine. Then why did you agree to meet me? Marcus sighed heavily. Because it's not fine, but I can't prove anything. What do you suspect? Funds disappearing, accounts that don't match up, Richard making unusual transfers that he says are investments but won't document properly. Marcus lowered his voice. Last month, 3 senior executives were let go when they asked too many questions. Help me, Marcus, I pleaded. Not for me, but for the 200 employees who will lose everything. I could lose my job, he whispered. You'll lose it anyway when the company collapses, I countered. Our conversation was interrupted by a sharp voice. Marcus, what a coincidence! We both looked up to see Veronica, Richard's assistant, standing by our table. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. Having a nice chat with the boss's ex-wife? Just catching up, Marcus replied smoothly. Madeline's wedding planning and all that. How sweet, Veronica said, her voice dripping with insincerity. Richard was just wondering where those revised quarterly reports were. Tell him they'll be on his desk this afternoon, Marcus replied. After Veronica left, Marcus leaned forward. She watches everyone like a hawk. Richard tells her everything. Everything? I asked pointedly. Marcus nodded slightly. I think she knows about the islands. She's been making travel arrangements. Do you think she'd talk to me? Marcus laughed without humor. Not a chance, but... He hesitated, then slid a small flash drive across the table. I've been making copies of certain documents, for protection. Maybe your lawyer friend can make sense of them. Thank you, Marcus. I'm not doing this for you, he said bluntly. Those employees trusted us with their futures. 2 days later, I met with Caroline and Greg to review the documents from Marcus. This is definitely enough to start an investigation, Caroline confirmed, looking through the files. But we need to move quickly. I can't let him ruin Madeline's wedding, I insisted. You might not have a choice, Elaine, Greg interjected. The timeline here suggests he's planning to liquidate the remaining assets immediately after the wedding. What if we confront him before? I suggested. Without official charges? He'd just deny everything and accelerate his plans, Caroline warned. My phone rang. It was Madeline. Mom, I need your help. Dad just called saying he wants to make some big announcement at the reception. Can we adjust the schedule? I met Caroline's eyes as I responded to my daughter. Of course, sweetie. We'll make it work. After ending the call, I turned to my friends. We have less time than we thought. The rehearsal dinner was in full swing at the Harbor View Hotel. Madeline looked radiant, her fiancé James by her side as they greeted guests. I'd been avoiding Richard all evening, but I couldn't put it off any longer. He approached me at the bar, looking annoyingly handsome in his tailored suit. Elaine, you've outdone yourself with the arrangements. Thank you, Richard. I'm surprised you could make it, given how busy you must be with your investments. His smile faltered slightly. Business is business. Best kept separate from family occasions, don't you think? Interesting philosophy, I replied, taking a sip of my champagne. Especially when family and business become so intertwined. Richard's eyes narrowed. What are you talking about? I think you know exactly what I'm talking about. The protected account, the company pension fund, your little paradise in the Maldives. The color drained from his face. Who have you been talking to? Lots of people, Richard. People who have documentation. People who care about the employees you're stealing from. Keep your voice down, he hissed, gripping my arm. You have no idea what you're talking about. I know everything, I said calmly, removing his hand. And tomorrow, instead of your grand retirement announcement, there will be a different kind of surprise. You wouldn't dare ruin Madeline's wedding, he threatened. No, I wouldn't, but I won't let you use our daughter's special day to announce how you've defrauded hundreds of people. Richard's face contorted with rage. You've always been jealous of my success. Success? I laughed incredulously. Is that what you call theft and fraud? Veronica appeared at Richard's side, her hand possessively on his arm. Is everything okay here? Everything's fine, Richard snapped. Elaine was just leaving. Actually, I said, I think you both should hear this. Veronica, did Richard tell you that his plan has a fatal flaw? That commingling stolen funds makes accomplices of everyone involved? Veronica's confident smile wavered. I don't know what you're talking about. The authorities might disagree, I replied, especially when they see the evidence of your involvement in moving those funds offshore. Richard? Veronica turned to him, her voice uncertain. She's bluffing, Richard insisted, but sweat beaded on his forehead. Am I? I pulled out my phone. One call and federal agents will be here before the dessert course. You're making a mistake, Richard growled, stepping closer to me. Marcus appeared beside me. Everything okay here, Elaine? Just having a chat with my ex-husband about his financial activities, I replied calmly. Richard's eyes darted between us. You, he pointed at Marcus, you did this! You did this to yourself, Marcus replied evenly. Richard lunged forward, grabbing my phone. Give me that! Several guests turned to look as Richard's voice rose. In his rage, he shoved me hard against the bar, causing glasses to shatter. James, my future son-in-law, was there in an instant. Sir, I think you need to step back. This doesn't concern you, Richard snarled, still gripping my arm painfully. When you put your hands on Madeline's mother, it absolutely concerns me, James replied firmly. Madeline rushed over. Dad, what are you doing? Richard released me, suddenly aware of the scene he was creating. Your mother is trying to ruin everything, he said, his voice shaking. By telling the truth? I challenged. Madeline deserves to know what kind of man her father really is. What's going on? Madeline asked, looking between us. Ask him about the private islands, I suggested. Ask him where the money came from. Mom, please, not now, Madeline pleaded. Listen to your daughter, Richard warned. I looked at my beautiful child, torn between causing her pain and letting a criminal use her wedding as a smokescreen. I'm sorry, sweetheart, but there won't be any grand announcement tomorrow. Your father is under investigation for embezzlement and fraud. The silence that followed was deafening. The wedding proceeded the next day without Richard. He'd left the rehearsal dinner in a fury, Veronica trailing behind him. Madeline was devastated, but determined not to let it ruin her day. You're sure about this, Mom? She asked as I helped adjust her veil. I wish I wasn't, I replied honestly, but the evidence is irrefutable. I just can't believe he would steal from his own employees. From us. I squeezed her hand. I'm so sorry, sweetheart. Don't be, she said firmly. You did the right thing. James's dad has agreed to walk me down the aisle. The ceremony was beautiful, the reception joyful despite the undercurrent of tension. I was speaking with the caterer when Caroline approached, her expression serious. Federal agents picked up Richard at the airport an hour ago, she informed me quietly. He was trying to leave the country. And Veronica? Detained as well. They found evidence on her laptop linking her directly to the offshore accounts. I closed my eyes briefly. Have they told the company employees yet? Not officially, but word is spreading. Marcus is working with the authorities to secure what assets they can. After the reception, I returned to my hotel room exhausted but resolute. A knock at the door surprised me. It was Marcus. I thought you should know, he said. The feds found documentation of every transaction. Richard kept meticulous records. His attention to detail was always impressive, I remarked dryly. They've frozen the offshore accounts, Marcus continued. With the evidence we provided, there's a good chance a significant portion of the pension funds can be recovered. Thank you for your courage, Marcus. I should have acted sooner, he admitted. But Richard was persuasive. I know exactly how persuasive he can be, I agreed. 3 weeks later, I sat across from Richard in the visitor's room of the Federal Detention Center. He looked haggard, the confident businessman replaced by a bitter inmate. Was it worth it? I asked simply. You've ruined everything, he accused. 20 years of planning, destroyed because you couldn't mind your own business. It became my business when you stole from our children's future, I replied. When you planned to use our daughter's wedding to announce your ill-gotten gains. I would have provided for them, Richard insisted. They would have wanted for nothing. Except integrity? A father they could respect? Richard leaned forward. The company was failing. I did what I had to do. No, you did what you wanted to do. There's a difference. I want to see the kids, he demanded. That's up to them, I replied. Madeline isn't ready. Maybe someday. And what about us? Richard asked, his voice softening. We had something once, Elaine. We could... Stop, I cut him off. There is no us. There never will be again. I've apologized. I've explained. And I don't accept, I said firmly. Some betrayals can't be forgiven, Richard. His face hardened. So that's it? 25 years of history? Just erased? You did the erasing, I reminded him. With every lie, every theft, every betrayal. As I gathered my things to leave, Richard called after me. I'll get out eventually, you know. This isn't over. I turned back one last time. It is for me. Outside, Caroline waited by her car. How did it go? Exactly as expected, I replied. He's sorry he got caught, not sorry for what he did. The prosecutor thinks he'll get 15 years minimum, Caroline informed me. The evidence is overwhelming. What about the employees? The pension fund? The receiver has recovered about 60% so far. It's not everything, but it's something. We drove in silence for a while before Caroline spoke again. What will you do now? I gazed out at the city skyline, feeling lighter than I had in months. Move forward. Help Madeline and James settle into married life. Grow my business. And Richard? Richard made his choice, I said firmly. Now he can live with the consequences. Have you ever discovered that someone you trusted completely was living a double life? What would you do if you found out their betrayal affected not just you, but hundreds of innocent people? Sometimes the greatest act of love is standing up for what's right, even when it breaks your heart. If you've enjoyed this story of justice served, please like and subscribe for more tales of triumph over treachery.